but we had our own 2-person kayak, and we were able to get on the lake before anybody else had even shown up. And so we had that experience in June where there was nobody on the lake, there was nobody around the lake, and you can still find those quiet times in June. I'm not sure we would have found that in July.
No.
I think that would have been difficult. And I heard at one point there was a day there was 10,000 people at Lake Louise in one day.
I'm Trizzy.
And I'm Leah.
And this is Ticket to Anywhere podcast, bringing you the gear, tools, and tips to equip you for a travel-filled life.
No matter your travel experience or lack thereof, we aim to be your first stop when you're thinking of where to go, how to get there, what to bring, and what to do.
Catch the latest episode every other Wednesday on YouTube or your favorite listening app.
We'd love to connect with you. Find Ticket to Anywhere on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Pinterest, and LinkedIn.
Welcome to another episode of the Ticket to Anywhere podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Trizzy at TrizzInc.
Yes, and I am Leah, LA in Flight. And today's episode is part of our upcoming national park series. And it's I'm surprised you haven't been to this one, Trizzy. What's it about?
It's about Banff National Park in Alberta, Canada.
Mhm.
And
Very,
they
very
sprinkled a lot more Canadian Rockies information
Yeah,
up in
which
there
I
too.
love because I
Yeah.
didn't really know Canadian Rockies was a thing, to be honest.
It was great having them on. We had Mountain Town Ramblers, Theresa and Kyle. They have a website, they have their own blog. They also have their own podcast
Mhm.
where they talk about just outdoors, nature, national parks, adventure. So check them out. They were hilarious. They have
Yeah,
a
they were
competitive edge
wonderful.
to themselves too.
I mean, they're like professional pinball players, which you'll learn more about in the episode, but that was really cool.
For sure. Yeah, they gave great tips on how to navigate through Banff National Parks,
Mhm.
how to visit on a budget because it
It's
is
important.
quite expensive to
Yeah,
visit.
it is. And
So,
then different seasons, how to dress for different seasons. And, if you've been following us for a while, you know that Trizzy is way more outdoorsy than myself. So for her, a lot of this is turnkey. And for me, it's like, okay, I'm really beginner. Where do I start? Where do I find camping? What part of town do I stay in? How do we rent a car, etc.? How to even dress so that we're not sweating underneath.
oh my gosh, yeah. You're going to be sweating in like 0-degree weather
Dude,
and
I
you're going to
can't
be
even.
questioning what is this feeling?
I think the worst situation I had or similar worst one was when we were sweating hiking up Machu Picchu,
Mm,
but I was also wearing the incorrect clothing. So it was like trapping the heat too much,
mhm.
but it was like
Okay.
pouring rain and cold outside, but yet my body was just like, ugh.
Yeah, it's
So
just so weird. Yeah.
luckily, Theresa and Kyle of Mountain Town Ramblers kind of tell us, like, all right, these are the layers you should have and why you
Mhm.
should be using what. So,
Yes. And they did mention something really cool that I can't wait to visit. It's a tea house in Banff because y'all know I love my tea,
it's a
but I'm
hike.
gonna keep that
Tea's a
yeah,
hike.
hiking to tea, but I'm gonna keep that part in the main episode. But I'm gonna let y'all know what tea I'm drinking on for this episode. I got the peach oolong tea from Percolate. Here's the bag.
Ooh,
And then
percolate.
loose leaf, little ASMR for y'all.
Love
And
it.
I had to put it in my adventure cup. Let
Oh,
the adventure begin.
perfect. It's perfect. Well, my coffee is in my Vegas cup.
A party.
In my Las Vegas cup, and it's literally just Cafe Bustelo espresso, a classic with Califia Farms pumpkin spice.
For sure.
Enjoy this episode. This is a good one for any season of the year.
Definitely. Cheers to us and cheers to another episode.
Cheers. Cheers to Banff.
We are welcoming Theresa and Kyle of the Mountain Town Ramblers on our podcast. They are enthusiasts and experts of nature, hiking, and just exploring the outdoors, particularly around the Canadian Rockies. And I will stop talking so you two can introduce yourselves and what Mountain Town Ramblers brand is about.
Oh, thank you. So nice to meet you, Trizzy. My name's Theresa Hurst, and this is my partner in crime and co-host of our Mountain Town Rambler podcast, Kyle Harvey. And we started a journey to share our stories about our adventures in the Canadian Rockies through our Mountain Town Rambler podcast about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was March of last year. Yes.
Yeah. So we have been, this is just a passion project of ours that's kind of snowballed as we've met people and networked and had more opportunities to go and travel. It's become a really cool, important passion project in our life.
Yeah, we totally understand that. Our travel podcast as well, it just started off as a passion project, and now 4 years in, we're happy, we're loving it. We're meeting great people like you two and just developing our skills as podcasters and travelers as well.
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much for hopping on. This is an exciting episode for all these national parkers out there or even just adventure junkies. I haven't been out to Alberta, Canada, Banff National Park. Sadly, it's definitely on my bucket list. I've seen
Mhm.
beautiful photos. My partner has. She went with her friends a few years back, and it's just something that's always been hurting me because I could have
Oh,
gone, but I decided
Yeah.
not to because I don't really like traveling with other people. But
Yeah.
But it's definitely on my list, and hopefully soon I will be going out there. But let us know like what Banff National Park is other than just Lake Louise. I know there's just more to it.
Yeah, I guess I can take this one, Teresa. Sure. Banff National Park. Correct me if I'm wrong because I have so much information now.
I
But
will.
you are free to come in and correct as needed. But it is our first national park in the country.
Mhm.
I don't remember the date. Do you remember the date offhand?
Kyle, the answer is 1885.
Oh, okay. I thought it was
Ooh.
1883. So just shortly after, I believe, was Yellowstone National Park in the United States. So it has been a place for conservation to make sure that these wild spaces are kept wild and are available for public use while still conserving the natural spaces and the wildlife in the area. So it is the second largest of the four contiguous national parks in Alberta and British Columbia. So Banff has the town of Banff, the hamlet of Lake Louise, and then a whole bunch of outdoor space in between. Beautiful lakes, glaciers, mountains, hiking, just unbelievable terrain. The town of itself is quite busy most of the year, as is Lake Louise. But once you get away from those town sites, that's where the real adventure begins, and you can find all sorts of spaces all to yourself.
One other thing, just if I may add about Banff, is this past year, Banff has had a record number of tourists visit the national park. So Banff has about 4 million visitors a year. And this year, particularly, had it's not 5 million, it is 4 million. This year we had a record number of visitors. So one of the things that we have learned in our many trips to Banff, we go about once a month. Over the past year, we've gone about once a month. So we've been there all throughout the year. And we actually try and stay away from Banff in the busy summer months because we know the tourists are just flocking to those beautiful areas, rightly so. They're gorgeous. They're internationally renowned for being some of the most beautiful spaces on earth. But man, it gets so busy during the summer months. There are some logistical tips and tricks that are really important to know when you're going to Banff to sort of try and go and avoid some of those touristy areas. And there's a lot of logistical things to know, even just to get to those popular spots in the summer, especially.
Yeah, it actually is important to know, like, you can't just really show up to Lake Louise at 10 in the morning and expect to see Lake Louise. You will get turned away in July and August. There will be no parking for you. There will, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That
uh,
10 a.m. sounds late, actually.
yeah, like you
I was
might
like, you're like 4 hours late at that point.
you might
It's
be 4
true.
hours late.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
any time between 5 and 6:30 to 7 o'clock. If you're not there, you're probably not getting there
Wow.
that day. So, but there's things that we talk about in our podcast too, tricks to avoid it. There's shuttle buses and
Mhm.
things like that. So there are ways around those issues as well.
Yeah. But Banff is a hiker's dream come true. So if y'all like hiking or backcountry camping, Banff, I don't think you get much more beauty than Banff. Well, maybe Jasper, but
Yeah.
we can't compare. We have a hard time every time we go somewhere. We compare everything to each other, and the reality is it's all very beautiful. The entirety of the Canadian Rockies is worth a visit. So if you go to Banff, don't miss out on Jasper. Go to Yoho National Park in Kootenay, and of course Kananaskis and Canmore, which we're staying in right now.
Okay. Is Banff one of the national parks that you have to have a timed entry into?
No.
That's a very good question,
Yeah.
though. But you do need to have a national parks pass to get into the national parks in Canada. There's a couple ways that you can do that. You can buy a day pass when you enter into the park gates. They'll sell them for you on the spot there, and it's one pass per vehicle. Or you can purchase an annual Discovery Parks pass through the Parks Canada website. And that annual pass gets you into every single national park across the country. And it also includes some free admission to places like museums, art galleries, and national historic sites. So it's really, really good bang for your buck. If you're coming to Canada and exploring national parks, if you're there for more than 5 days, get an annual national parks pass. And honestly, it's worth the money with the free admission that you get. But
Yeah.
no timed entry.
Yeah, there is lots of space to move around in any of the national parks, so they can accommodate all the people that are here so far. Parking can be tricky in the town side of Banff itself in July and August, but we've never had a particular issue finding a place to park in the town site. It's sometimes you're walking, sometimes you're kind of driving around the block a little bit, but there's lots of parking and there's again lots of space to move around. There are literally hundreds of points of attraction in Banff National Park where people start to space themselves out once they get here.
Okay. And what about shuttle service? Kind of like how Zion has a shuttle service?
There are shuttle services, Trizzy. You have to
Perfect.
book them in advance. So if
Okay.
you're going to places like Lake Louise and Moraine Lake, so Moraine Lake is probably equal in beauty to Lake Louise. It's one that's really, really hard to get to, though, because this past year they closed the main road to the lake. So the only way to get there is by shuttle bus. And so it is a good idea to go and book your shuttle bus ticket in advance. You can get transfers from Lake Louise. It could take you to Moraine Lake and back, or you can get them right from the town site. You could get shuttles back and forth right from the town, but book those in advance. Don't show up. I think we tried to get a shuttle one day and they were booked. It was in
Yes.
Lake Louise. We looked into seeing if we get a shuttle to Moraine Lake and they were already filled for that day.
That's right,
So-
they were, yeah. So
And then also Banff has a really good public transit system in the town sites called Rome Transit. So sometimes hotels have free bus tickets for Rome, and the Rome Transit bus can take you to some of the really cool tourist spots, including Lake Louise.
yeah, there are well over a dozen buses running in a very, very small town, taking you to various points, either within the town or outside of the town, to make sure that they keep cars off the road, parking lots not full, because a lot of the places, these parking lots were built 10, 15, 20, 40 years ago when the traffic was nowhere near what it is today. So those parking lots have not really been upgraded in a lot of ways. So they're just trying to keep cars away by bringing lots of shuttles. And they're really convenient and really not very expensive at all. So,
Great tip. Rome, you said ROAM, like that?
Correct.
Yep, that's right.
Okay, cool. And then when you're going, what kind of gear or equipment should we be packing with us?
Depends what the date is, I guess.
Okay, let's
If
talk.
it's, yeah,
let's
do you want to talk about?
winter.
It's winter.
You want to talk about winter first?
Yeah,
Go
can
for
I?
it. Yeah, talk about winter hiking.
Okay, because this is new to us, and this is when we started our journey. We went on our first winter hike together back in January 2021 in Banff and in Johnston Canyon in particular. And we were so, I want to say, over prepared with the gear. I had done research. I had talked to all my outdoors friends. This was new to me. I thought I was going to die. But we learned a lot about layering of your clothes. Particularly, I do not leave the house in the winter without a merino wool layer underneath everything that I'm wearing. We double sock it. So we'll wear some like smart wool socks or merino wool socks over our first layer of socks. We have really good winter hiking boots that are waterproof, which is really important when you're hiking in the snow. Sometimes if we're hiking in like really deep snow or lots of water, we'll wear gaiters over our boots. And then crampons for grip on the icy trails are a must.
Yeah.
What did I miss?
Yeah, I think the important thing is those layers, and that merino wool based layer that has been amazing, because sometimes the weather changes really unpredictably, but when you're hiking, 15, 20 kilometers and going, 1,000 or more meters of elevation, it starts to get warm and you don't want to sweat. So you want to be able to take off those layers. Like today, and it's November, was it 5th or 6th today? It was up to 4 degrees, and we're just outside of Banff right now.
Celsius.
Yeah, Celsius, sorry, Fahrenheit 40-ish, something like that.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a wonderful, beautiful day, and
it was warm for us.
It was warm for us, right? So we were in a sweater and a light toque, but we have hiked. Was it Johnston Canyon?
Yeah.
No, the one by the
Sundance Canyon.
Sundance Canyon. Thank you. We've gone so many, we forget. Sundance Canyon is probably the coldest hike we've done. I think that was around 10 or 11 kilometers, so about 7 miles. And it would have been minus 23 degrees Celsius, which is almost the same in Fahrenheit. And it was cold, and we had layers and layers and layers on for that. But we don't let the cold stop us. The technology and the gear keeps you warm and lots of temperatures. So that's the important thing. But the spikes, for sure. Lots of people show up in Banff in the winter without proper footwear and spikes, and they get into trouble, and sometimes they'll get trapped. And we've helped many a person either up or down a hill because they
sliding down a hill.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so another little fun tech gear tip if you're hiking in the winter in the Canadian Rockies that I didn't think about before I started hiking was how to transport your water so it doesn't freeze.
Yes.
Because a normal water bottle, your water's going to freeze. Those tubes that come out of your
those camelbacks.
Camel packs,
thank you.
Yeah.
Words are hard. Those will freeze. So they don't always work unless you have them really close to your body and keep it nice and warm so it doesn't freeze. Or we use Nalgene bottles with the really wide mouths. So that's a really good tip. And if you turn it upside down, it prevents the freezing of the water. For some reason, I don't know. That was Sherry's tip.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
I know, right, Trizzy? And we always have like those little hand warmer packages just in case.
I literally have one right. These
Yeah.
ones?
too.
The hot hands?
The hot hand, something like that.
hands.
Yeah, that's one of the great brands.
True. The lakes are starting to freeze. We just did a little tour around Kananaskis country, which is just outside of Banff and Canmore. And it was really beautiful. It's our favorite time of year to come because the lakes are still kind of thawed. You can still see the beautiful color, but the mountains have snow on them, which are they're the most beautiful when they have snow on them. But the lakes start to freeze and the temperature shifts make the coolest sound as the ice starts to form. It's really neat to be around.
Yeah.
And nobody's in the parks right now.
Yeah, we had driven well over 100 kilometers today and saw at most 7 cars at total today.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is a wonderful time to year, and accommodations are super inexpensive right now too, comparatively.
So bring your hot hands and come to Canada in November.
Yeah. Are we allowed to be drinking beverages on this podcast?
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay,
we encourage hydration. So.
Actually, I missed out on this question. Sorry, Leah.
That's okay.
But I need to ask you guys, coffee or tea?
Oh.
Go for it.
I don't think there's a wrong answer for that, but it's for sure. I'm a pot of coffee, a girl.
Pot of coffee. Whoa.
Yeah.
I'm the same. I'm not a pot, but it's 2 to 3 cups of coffee in the morning. But I actually prefer to have a nice tea before I go to sleep in the evening. So, but usually an herbal tea with no caffeine, right? But that's
that.
Or a green tea, but it's got caffeine in it. But,
So I want to expand a little bit on someone like me who will never, ever, ever go to Banff. And I'm being honest, like in the winter or even remotely when it drops, like the temperature at all. For the summertime, if I'm going, fortunately, it would be the most popular time. But what kind of, obviously you want to layer, but what's like the temperature change from, say, the morning when you get started to like the hottest part of the day that will help people like me who would only go during the summer know how to dress and layer?
I would suggest, if you absolutely cannot avoid July and August, that's fine. But if there is any way for you to come out in May or June, June might be perfect. And we have found ourselves very much alone in a lot of spaces in June. So we'll throw that out there. But if it's July and August, when you are in town, it is not uncommon to hit 30 degrees Celsius. So
Okay.
it can be hot. I mean, not California hot, but it's going to get very, very warm. It's shorts and t-shirt weather and your sunscreen up. If you are climbing a mountain, it doesn't take very many kilometers before that temperature starts to drop. I remember a day I did a mountain called Cirque Peak, and it is unbelievable. It's amazing. You get views of Bow Lake, which might be, I mean, one of the most beautiful lakes up there with Lake Louise. And at the top of the mountain, or at the bottom of the mountain, we were 24, 25 degrees. At the top, it was -4 and windy. So I mean, that was a July day, and it changes dramatically. So if you are going in any elevation, you want to have layers for sure, because it gets windy in open spaces and it cools very quickly. So
Even gloves and a toque in the summer, like be prepared basically for all weather conditions. Pretend it's every season in the summer, especially in the mountains with that altitude.
Trizzy, do you know what a toque is?
A toque.
Because I feel like I'm one of the
poncho?
few Americans that know what
oh
it
yes,
is.
that's a little bit of a Canadianism there for
It's
you.
a
Sorry.
very much a
okay.
Canadianism.
I don't know.
It's a
It's a
beanie.
beanie.
A toque is a
That's what it is
beanie.
too.
Yes.
Look at all the knowledge we're sharing right now.
I love
I
it.
know. Thank you.
That's awesome. Man, okay. I really gotta go. Leah,
Yes,
let's
you
go in May for
do.
your birthday, or like,
May.
post-birthday celebration.
Yeah, late May would probably be,
That
would
sounds
that
like a
be
good
the
time.
ideal time?
Yeah. So one thing too to make note of, and I made this mistake kind of as a rookie a few years ago. I brought somebody to see the beautiful turquoise Lake Louise in early May. And we got there and we were met with the snow covered frozen lake. And then she cried. This person was visiting from Spain and she started crying because she didn't get her dream come true, which was to see Lake Louise. And I thought, how did I not think of that? So the lakes sometimes don't thaw until early June.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so maybe June, but we were there in late June.
Right.
If I could share the story, and we were there, we arrived at maybe 6 a.m., but we had our own 2-person kayak, and we were able to get on the lake before anybody else had even shown up. And so we had that experience in June where there was nobody on the lake, there was nobody around the lake, and you can still find those quiet times in June. I'm not sure we would have found that in July.
No.
I think that would have been difficult. And I heard at one point there was a day there was 10,000 people at Lake Louise in one day.
Yeah.
And there are only a few hundred parking spots. So it is pretty crazy. And it's not to say that you can't enjoy the stunning beauty of it, but when you're sort of packed in like sardines on a very small sort of concrete viewing place, it's difficult if you're not willing to hike away from the crowds, because at Lake Louise you can definitely hike to the various tea houses that are there, which are absolutely spectacular, and you get stunning elevated views of the lake where not that many people will do the hiking there.
Yeah.
Wait, did you say tea houses?
Tea houses. Do you want to talk about the tea houses?
Yes, please
Oh,
do.
you take this one over.
Oh, I don't know how old they are. 100 years old.
Okay, I'll
Okay,
fact
you're
at
gonna-
least 100 years old, but I'll fact check them.
This is one of my favorite journeys of the entire year. It's called the 2 Tea House Trail. If you go on all trails, it's a 2 Tea House Trail starting from Lake Louise. So you start at the shoreline of the lake, and the first tea house that it takes you to is called Lake Agnes Tea House.
Built in 1901.
1901.
Wow.
Lovely.
Ooh.
Thank you for that. The hike is about 3.5 kilometers. It's kind of steep. It's a moderate steep hike, but kids and families can get to the tea house. Stunning location, so beautiful. From there, you have a few options. You can turn around and go back to Lake Louise, or you can continue going up to the Beehive. So there's a ton of pictures on Instagram of Lake Louise from the top of a cliff, and that's the big Beehive hike. Or you can take what we took, which was the hike along to the Plains of Six Glaciers Tea House, which is way far back at the Victoria Glacier that you're looking at when you see Lake Louise. You see Victoria Glacier, but this hike takes you to a tea house that's overlooking this glacier, and you pass through these gorgeous alpine meadows, and all you see are glaciers, and you can see the snow falling from the glaciers.
Yeah, there is one time in my life I've actually been able to witness a full avalanche, and it was
Ooh,
on
that's
this one. Now,
scary.
it from
No,
from
it's
a from a
beautiful.
Oh, from
distance
afar.
because
Okay.
Oh.
many kilometers away, but
Yeah.
your views and your open spaces are so wide, and to see it and to experience how loud something like that is, it
Yeah.
is deafening on how loud it is when an entire shelf of snow falls down. But we even heard one the
We
last.
did.
We didn't see it, but it is probably the most common place to either hear or see avalanches quite safely,
Yeah.
because the area you're in is not where the avalanche zone is. But it is just stellar, and the story about those tea houses are amazing. Those people will have to hike up with all of the materials on their back, so they have simple menus, they have sandwiches, but they have beautiful tea,
Yeah.
maybe dozens and
Wow.
dozens of tea and baking, and all of it is carried up in the backs of the staff who will stay there for 4 or 5 days at a time in a little hut. They'll work the tea houses and then come back down, and someone replaces them. It's a very cool story, and a lot of interesting history from that era, from the Canadian Pacific Railway, who built that and
Mhm.
was trying to bring tourists out west early in Canadian history. So it's very cool.
Beautiful. One of the most beautiful places I've seen in my life too, I think.
I love that. I'm a tea drinker. So
Mhm.
Leah's the coffee drinker. I'm the tea drinker.
Yeah,
Oh,
40 or 50 kinds of loose tea that they will just and it is high and beautiful.
Wow.
It
I
is.
would
yeah.
still go to a tea house. Absolutely would hike to a tea house though. That's so
Definitely.
cool.
Yeah,
It is
you
so
can do
cool.
both in a day for sure. We did it together.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy, but we did it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Is there like a different taste to it because of the elevation? I'm curious.
Well, they take the water right from the dripping glaciers,
Oh, that's
so
cool.
an
Wow.
experience like you will have never had.
It's
Yeah, there's
probably
no
like
running water or
healing.
electricity there,
Yeah.
right? So
No.
everything is from the land right there, except for what they
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
I
we
love
literally
that.
watched the lady that worked at the tea house fill up her bottle from the glacier that was trickling. Oh my gosh, it was amazing.
Yeah, and something about having earned the tea, having done a long hike, always makes it, I think, taste a little better.
Yeah,
So it's
Yep.
hard to tell, but
Yep.
You could tell I'm dreaming right now.
I
yeah.
know. We'll send you some drool pictures, Trizzy.
Yes, please, please do. So, according to Travel Banff Canada, the average daily costs in low season too could be $450
Yeah.
for one person. So
Wow.
obviously, going to Banff or going to Alberta in general could be very, very expensive, even in the low season. What other tips besides just visiting during low season do you guys have to visit Banff on a budget?
So many.
Is this a good time to plug some of our amazing resources for
Yes,
this? Yeah.
please.
Absolutely.
So if you check out our website at mountaintownramblers.com, there is an exact blog entry called Banff on a Budget.
Love it.
And you can click through that, and there's all sorts of things in there. And it's going to start off by saying probably don't go in July and August. But there are budget accommodations that can be had. We have a beautiful place that we stay at in Banff from time to time,
Right.
where a little bed and breakfast. You get one room, you get some breakfast, and we only pay, even in the high season, $139 per night for that. Now it's a tiny room in a 1900 house, but it's right downtown. There are lots of Airbnb options. There's camping. We love camping in the summertime, but it might be difficult for people flying in without the gear. But camping can be quite inexpensive. You can find absolutely stunning campsites for $40 or $50 Canadian a night.
Yeah.
Some of the budget hotels in the summer book way in advance. So if you start
Okay.
booking
Yeah.
February or March, like if you book too far in
Winter.
advance, the prices are very, very high. I don't know why or how that works, but your kind of best spot's about 5 or 6 months out, maybe 4, 5, 6 months, and you should be able to find budget hotels in Banff for about that 250 range, even in the high season.
Mhm.
If you wait till 6 or 8 weeks before, everything will be 4 or 5 or more. So
Wow.
Yeah. I have one more tip.
yeah, I'd wait.
Don't stay in Banff. Stay in Canmore,
Yes.
which is
There
the
we go.
town. It's about 10-minute drive out.
25-minute drive.
Kyle's right. I'm wrong. Kyle's right. No, it's about is it 20?
25, 22, I think it is.
Time is nothing in the
Yeah,
mountains.
no, the scenery is, you won't even know. Feels like 5.
Feels like 5.
Right.
So it's a short distance outside of Banff, and it is equally beautiful and stunning in its mountain settings. You are right in the Canadian Rockies. The only reason why Canmore is not part of the national park is because it used to be an old coal mining town, and the National Park Act in Canada ousted all coal mining towns from national parks back in 1930. So Canmore used to be part of the park, and then it got kicked out. But it's so beautiful, and accommodations tend to be cheaper. We're here right now in the Cascade Chalet Airbnb in Canmore, and we stay here almost 50% of the time. We come down to the Canadian Rockies, we stay in Canmore.
Yeah.
Yeah, a really,
Wow.
really good option.
Well, in it's the town of Banff. Just to give you a little more detail, it's about an 8,000 person town.
Right.
Canmore is a little bit over 20. So both towns are very touristy. So they cater to tourist audiences. But because there are far more people in Canmore, there is actually a lot more to see and do in terms of the town itself. There's probably more restaurants in Banff, I'm going to guess,
Yeah.
but your selection of hotels and accommodations in Canmore are fantastic. And if you go the other way from Banff, we would highly recommend anyone with a vehicle take the 10-minute drive out to Kananaskis, which is a series of 4 provincial parks for Alberta. And it is just as stunning as Banff, and probably a tenth of the people that go there.
Yes,
So
and there are lodges to book there and campgrounds. And in Canada, we have free camping spaces called Crown Land Camping. So there is the potential to camp on the side of the road in Crown Land, designated Crown Land Crown Land areas that are free. So if you have camping gear, check out Kananaskis Country.
There we
Okay.
go.
What's the closest airport people would fly into?
Calgary. It's about an hour and 20-minute drive from Calgary to start to get into the mountains.
Okay.
a little less. I think it's an hour and 20 to get right to Banff from
Oh.
Calgary, I think.
And that's the only accessible airport?
Well, I mean, we're from the city of Edmonton, that would probably be the next international airport. And if you're asking us, we would tell you to go to Edmonton because that's where we're from. Drive to Jasper, which is straight west, hit that national park, and then make your way down to Banff, and then maybe end up in Calgary, and then fly back home from there, because you
Okay.
really don't want to miss Jasper. And we would probably hijack your whole show here and talk about Jasper if we could, because it has half as many visitors per year, and
Wow.
it is almost twice the size, and it is as beautiful, if not even more beautiful. So I know you want to talk about Banff, but we'll plug Jasper. The problem is Jasper is 3.5 hours from Edmonton, so that is your closest airport, where it's only an hour and a bit from Calgary to get to Banff. So it's much more convenient for Banff for sure, which is why it's much busier.
Okay. And the type of rental car that we would have to order would be?
Pretty much anything
Any
you
car.
want. Yeah, the highways are beautiful.
Okay.
Dual lane highways, both divided highways all the way until you get right into the parks.
Yeah. And you know what we've also stayed in a few hotels in Calgary that actually have shuttles and tours from Calgary to Banff.
Oh.
So there is a way to get to Banff without a car. There are a ton of tour buses that can take you from Calgary Airport or Calgary hotels and take you right into the town of Banff. And then again, once you're here, you have access to the Rome Transit. But when you're thinking about vehicles, if you are coming in the wintertime or even on the shoulder season where there's a high probability you'll be met with icy, snowy road conditions, always double check and see if your rental car has winter tires. You do not need chains in Jasper or Banff, but you do need winter tires to drive safely on the road.
Okay.
Yeah, and just to add on that budget thing, you and I have done it a few times when accommodations have been, oddly expensive, and we've been trying to do some short-term stuff. Sometimes you get lots of conferences and conventions in Banff, and those weekends tend to, even in off season, tend to be very expensive. We have stayed in Calgary, like you said. It's only an hour and 10 into Banff, and so if you feel like, in Calgary, it's very easy to get a hotel room for $100 Canadian, which American would be about $70. And, you take the drive in, and you end up going back into Calgary in the evening, and it is a city of about 1.3 million people. That city is pretty
It's
fantastic
beautiful.
itself, too.
It's a beautiful city.
It really is. It was the site of the Calgary Olympics too, so it has a lot of really interesting things. It's a great city on its own.
I'm sorry if I missed it. I wanted to go ask about camping again. Do you need you said it's pretty easy and spots are abundant. I'm not great at camping. Actually, I don't remember the last time I went. Trizzy camps a lot, but I think people want to know the different ways they can stay out near Banff. So, camping, how would you go
Mhm.
about doing that? I mean, you'd have to lug all your stuff in if you're flying in, but reserving
Yeah.
space, or how do you go about finding, campgrounds, etc.?
Well, there's about 14 campgrounds in Banff National Park itself. You can book campsites in a national park through the Parks Canada website months in advance of your trip. Highly recommend it. In Banff, those campsites are filled up.
Okay.
Between May and September, they're really, really hard to find a campsite. If you don't have camping gear, want the camping experience, but are also prone to liking comfortable bedding, there are glamping situations as
Nice.
well. So that's a really good middle compromise, I
Mhm.
think.
Yeah.
We have experienced the ability to go camping in Jasper last minute and find an open
Ooh.
spot
Yeah.
on a long weekend in the summer.
Yes, we have actually. And I will say, up until even maybe 2 years ago, I was able to find, week before camping, not so much right in Banff, but in Canmore, where they have wonderful campsites as well.
Mhm.
But it's those ones that are in the epic, beautiful spots. Those ones, you'll have to queue up on the day that they go on sale. Any of the backcountry campsites, they are in so high demand that they are instantly gone. Like we book the day off work every year when the sites go on sale, and we hit refresh on the websites until we find that we're 12,000th in
Yeah.
the queue, and they sell the entire country all at once. But outside of that, if you're going in a weekday, I haven't actually never had an issue
Mhm.
getting campsites on a weekday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, with a little bit of like 1 or 2 weeks ahead of time. It's the weekends in the summer that are very difficult, or the really in demand backcountry hiking
Yeah.
campsites that are tough. But other
Mm-mm.
than that, a little bit of planning, February, March, you should be able to find mountain camping. Maybe not right in Banff, but very close for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, let's get into the T2A Q2A, which is the ticket to anywhere quick to answer segment. Rapid fire for you
Oh, I
guys.
love
Love
that.
it.
Yes.
I'm
Is there
stressing out right
are
now.
there points awarded, and is there a winner?
No, this is not a
Oh,
competition. It's
this is
just to
all we
get
do is
to know you
compete.
guys.
Okay.
Competitive fire. All right. What are you guys besides outdoor adventurers and podcasters?
I work for the provincial government. I'm a public service servant. A public
Love
servant
that.
for the 21 years. I'm also a mom. I have 2 boys.
Oh,
Yeah. So I'm
nice.
a lot.
You're also a professional pinball player.
That's
You
right.
forgot about that.
Professional.
Wow.
Yeah, I
That's
know
where you
fun.
get the competitive fire from.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, we're both competitive pinball
Yes.
players.
Oh, that's
Um,
so cool.
yeah, we do a lot of traveling for that as well. Actually, we kind of try
Oh,
to mix the mountains and the
that's
big
awesome.
tournaments. Yeah, it's fun. Myself, I am a teacher for almost as long as Teresa's been working for the government. I am a dad of a 24
4.
year old. It keeps hard to keep counting. Yeah, and most of the time I hang out with Teresa, and she tolerates me, so I like that.
That's awesome.
I love that. All right. So, what is the most unique or unusual thing you've ever eaten?
The saddest thing I didn't eat on we were in Jasper and we went to this restaurant for local cuisine, and elk was the specialty
Yeah.
meal on the menu. But while we were walking to the front door of the restaurant, there was this beautiful family
Oh,
of
yeah.
elk, her mom and her baby elk. Like, I can't eat any of that. I think I
Oh,
had a
Yeah.
salad. I don't know. I can't do it. They're right there. They're
I
watching.
That's tough.
Yeah.
I did actually forget I had whale in Iceland, which I would never
Oh,
eat again. It was wonderful, but I can't do that
sad.
anymore. No, having heard the stories about it.
No.
No,
What
I
was the
couldn't do that.
consistency like,
It
whale?
tastes it tastes like steak. Honestly, it tastes like
Oh.
beef. It is. I shouldn't encourage anyone to try it, but
It
it
tastes bleh.
it was awful. Don't eat it. Yeah.
Really?
But in Iceland, I guess you do as Icelandicers do, I guess. But yeah.
Gotcha,
Wow.
gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Well, last question. What is your next destination?
Do we? Oh, I know what it is. We're going.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
We're going back to Banff because I say that like it's like,
Yeah, like
oh,
we're
here
here
we
all
go
the time.
again.
Yeah.
We're coming back to Banff because it's the Alberta Beer Festival in
Ooh.
Banff.
Wow.
And it's the Christmas holiday market in Banff.
And-
So we're like,
Yep.
we're going to have lots of beer and then go Christmas shopping.
Yeah,
That's
and the
perfect.
Christmas craft market in Banff is pretty spectacular. If you haven't heard or seen of it, it's Banff in Christmas time. Lots like many mountain towns, they really do it up. Christmas carolers.
It's like a Hallmark movie.
Yeah, it really is. It's pretty amazing, and it actually really not that busy.
Yeah,
It's surprisingly, yeah,
it's beautiful.
Good to
Oh, that
know.
sounds fun.
yeah.
Definitely. Awesome. Well, this has been so wonderful and so informational. Thank you both so much. We might need to invite you back on to do a whole episode on Jasper.
Yeah,
now
and-
now you've piqued our curiosity, but
Well,
yes.
can we add too that there are 4 national parks all attached to each other? So 2 in Alberta and 2 in British Columbia.
Yeah.
And all of them are very much worth visiting for their own reasons. So anytime you want some more Canadian mountain, all of them are Rocky Mountain destinations. All of them are different and pretty fantastic. So.
And I'm also going to plug, we're just about to finish a 4-part series on Olympic National Park in Washington.
Wow.
That's where we had our
Love
big
it.
trip this summer.
Yeah.
Oh.
Love it. Great
Yeah.
during
Trizzy,
the
you've
summer.
been there, right?
Mhm.
Trizzy?
I went
Yeah.
there during summer 2020 when
Oh,
COVID
okay.
was, because
everything
was outdoor.
Yes.
Right.
And yeah,
Yeah.
it was gorgeous during the summer.
Yeah. So that's our big project right now, is finishing off those podcasts. And,
Yeah.
Exciting.
do we have anything else? Are we allowed to plug anything else?
Yes,
Yeah,
please
yeah,
do. We were
let's-
just going to ask, where can people find you?
Well, for sure on mountaintownramblers.com. I think I've got
you
them
got
over
them.
here. And normally we've been doing all of this just for fun and hobby, but we have our first piece of merchandise that we are selling on our website.
Ooh.
That's-
But we came up with this idea to make them audio greeting cards. So if you flip over the back, there is a QR code. One takes you to the website, but one is a little mini podcast from us about the location.
Oh, that's so cool.
All of our podcasts, we have blogs.
Yeah, we co-wrote a Banff travel guide with We're in the Rockies from the United States, Matt and Cheryl, and that's on the We're in the Rockies website, or access through ours too. But it's a very extensive 5-day itinerary through Banff, and we have one on Jasper as well.
Yeah, we became authors all of a sudden
I
from
know.
this.
Who knew?
oddly enough. Yeah.
Pinball, mountains, and authors.
Travel.
That's
And
incredible.
blogs. Yeah,
I
it's
love that.
insane.
Well, do you guys have social media as well? Let everybody know where.
Oh
they
my
can
goodness,
connect
so
with
much.
you.
Okay, that's all you. I'm
Um,
out.
So we do have an Instagram account. All of our handles are Mountain Town Ramblers. We're just starting out on the TikTok. It's not our age range apparently, but we're trying and seeing how that goes. And we're dabbling a little bit in some YouTube videos so that we can showcase our journeys and stuff. So
But Instagram is our big one.
Instagram's our
Yeah.
main one, yeah, and our website. You bet.
Well, appreciate you guys, Theresa and Kyle. Thank you. And thank you guys for listening in on the Ticket to Anywhere podcast. Until next time, we will see ya. This is Trizzy at TrizzInc.
This is Leah at LA in Flight.
To find even more travel tips on budgeting, destinations, and our favorite items, sign up for our monthly newsletter, The Check-In, linked in the show notes or description.
This is the Ticket to Anywhere podcast. Thanks for listening.